Mics are on.
I want new headphones.
More election shenanigans in Georgia. Stimulus saga continues. The Boeing 737 MAX is in the air. And we'll tell you how to buy some champagne for New Year's. All that and more coming up on today's Wade and Carter Show.
No. No, I can't mislead our audience. I can't mislead our audience.
How are you going to mislead them?
Is your mic on?
Hey, good morning.
Good morning to you.
How are you today?
I don't know if it's just the end of the year, the last show of 2020. I just can't mislead our audience. I can't do it. I've got to have that air of honesty with our audience. 4 minutes ago, we had a nothing show. We had nothing to talk about. And you just read that intro in such a way that I'm excited about this show. And there's absolutely, folks, no reason to be excited about this show. That's just like, we'll tell you how to pick a champagne, and there's shenanigans and really
Saga.
And
planes are back in the air.
And the horns won.
Let's do this first.
Pigs fly. The greatest weather sponsor in the history of radio, Deerland Feed, invites you to understand that Victoria is 66 degrees and cloudy right now, going to a high today of 79. But what's going to happen is this afternoon, it's going to start cooling off. Get down into the 50s, get down maybe even into the 30s tomorrow. And it's going to rain from about 11 o'clock this morning until sometime next year.
Yeah. Ain't going to be good, is it?
Yeah, it's going to rain a lot. But we need it. We need the rain. Matt Boucher says we're still way behind on our rain. I don't want us to catch up all at once.
No, but we're not going to. I guess
not going to catch up.
I don't think we're going to catch up.
No.
I mean, we would have to probably get 8 inches to catch up between now and the end of the year. That would put us in a flooding territory. We don't want that. So, yeah,
it's better for us to get 8 inches than for Cuero to get 8 inches.
True. Because then we end up getting it anyway. You got a point there.
Yes, sir.
So your Horns win yesterday convincingly over a pretty bad.
Really a bad 4-1 Colorado team that just really didn't do anything for me.
No, me either.
It's bad when of course, they were missing their running back, who was their number one player. Pac-12, I think, Offensive Player of the Year.
So was Oklahoma State. Didn't keep them from beating Miami.
Legit point. I keep trying to make excuses for Colorado. They were 4-1. They beat UCLA. They beat Stanford. Their lone loss came to the Utah Utes.
Two Utes?
To the Utes. The two Utes. But Texas in control early, scored on the first drive.
Scored on the second drive.
Bijan Robinson, freshman. So I think he's from like the Scottsdale area, Phoenix area. 6 foot, 220 kid. He's not that little bitty running back you're used to seeing. He's a grown man. At one point, he had like 11 carries for almost 190 yards.
He was pretty solid.
Yeah,
And what was the name of the backup quarterback that came in early in the second or third quarter?
Yeah, really, really played well. So
I thought that was he impressed me. I think quarterback position in Texas looks pretty solid going forward.
Well, is it enough to save Tom Herman? I mean,
I'm 7-3 in a COVID year. I mean, how do you get rid of a guy that goes 7-3, wins the bowl game, the Alamo Bowl?
Lost 2 games that he lost were overtime or double. I mean, it was a 4 overtime game to OU.
Yeah.
Of course, admittedly an OU down year. A down year for them. They still win the conference.
Yeah.
But it was a down year for them. Now, OU's got to play Florida today. Yes, today. And OU it has a Florida team that like a third of their team is not playing.
But we talked a little bit about it when Auburn fired Gus Malzahn and went and grabbed the coach from Boise State who had ties. And then their AD had to write a letter to the fans saying, hey, this is like, you don't just date I didn't just date my wife one date and then the next day we got married. We decided that we wanted to spend our lives together, and that was the coaching search. It took time. I mean, the letter was kind of pathetic, to be honest.
Yeah. Analogies in business situations don't always work.
No. But now you're having to defend the fact that you went and hired a guy who basically compiled the exact same record as Gus Malzahn.
Right.
The guy you fired, I think they have the exact same win total and a few more. Malzahn has a few more losses.
Right.
Maybe attribute that to playing some postseason. I don't know exactly. But in the conference, the record is almost the same, except this guy did that in the Mountain West Conference.
I'll take the guy with the SEC roots.
Yeah, even though his SEC record wasn't so hot. I mean, that was probably the problem. He wasn't winning enough in the SEC. But it's apparent by this letter that he had to send out to all the fans and boosters that there's some rumblings in Auburn, Alabama, that they're not too happy with the choice of the coach, which leads me back to my point. If you fire Tom Herman, what do you go get? Who do you go get to replace him? Because the cupboard's pretty bare. If
Exactly.
Auburn replaces a guy that lost a national championship game just a few years ago with the head coach from Boise State, and he's done some good things at Boise, I'm not knocking that.
It's Boise. Boise State's like Gonzaga. At the end of the day, who cares? Seriously. Boise State's like Gonzaga. They're always like, hey, those guys at Boise. Boise State used to be like Coastal Carolina. They're beating everybody. Then they played a couple of bowl games and got smoked.
Well, no, actually, didn't they put it on Oklahoma?
The fake play.
Yeah.
Remember that?
But, well, the difference is Gonzaga's ranked number one.
But do you remember that Malzahn, and of course it's basketball, but do you remember that Malzahn was like the guy? It was like when everybody wanted Kirby Smart. And then you realize that he may have worked for Nick Saban, but he's not Nick Saban.
Everybody wanted Will Muschamp.
Everybody wanted Tom Herman.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody thought he was going to be the guy. He went to Houston. He had some success.
Left there quickly.
Yeah. Had the pedigree of coming from being under Urban Meyer. Now, everybody seems to think that if Urban Meyer called Austin today and said, I'll tell you what, that running back's pretty good, and I like that quarterback, and I'll come coach you guys.
See, but all the rumblings over the Christmas break were that Urban's actually exploring NFL options for next year.
I think Urban would be foolish to do so. Just mean. I know he studied the league in depth sitting in that chair, but
yeah, but is he foolish in the fact that
he's not an NFL coach.
But he can collect an NFL paycheck.
I think college coaches make more money. Of course, they don't have to recruit in the NFL.
Well, that's my point. You probably have a little more time at home, although you listen to stories from Jimmy Johnson and others who were always at the field or at the stadium. But I think that's the big part. You're not doing the recruiting.
So where would he maybe be an NFL coach? His family lives in Columbus, Ohio.
That's a short hop, skip, and a jump to New York for the Jets.
Boy, talk about the kiss of death.
Yeah, I know.
Why would anybody with Jets, Jets? They're terrible.
They haven't been good since Ken O'Brien was a quarterback, I don't think. But yeah, I don't know. But I was impressed with
welcome our guests
with your horns. So yeah, good morning, Judge Posey. First one in this morning. Patrick Strauss, second place.
Good morning, Judge.
Second place is
first loser.
Just kidding, Patrick. David Glass is in, CWB, and Bobby Leister. Good morning on Caldo Wednesday.
Absolutely.
Scott Tomko, Jeremy Pena checking in from Audie Murphy Hospital. Jeremy, hope all went well. I did see a report yesterday. Surgery went well, so we're praying for you, buddy. And hopefully everything's good. Margins are clear.
Keep us in the loop.
Justin Glass, good morning. Chris Conrad, Karen Webb's in. Bobby Leister says we're up 600 to 653 YouTubers on the Leisterometer.
We're up.
Thanks to those pesky Russians.
Yeah, actually, we're going to have to give credit where credit's due. Our buddy John Paul Hull at Razor IT Solutions had a little something going with that. He pressed a button or two. His ass just said back here, and there's some truth in that. And what we're doing here is exposing via an experiment how many people you see that their numbers they're not real. The things that are out there are not real. There's not 653 people watching us on YouTube right now. There might be, but
although, I don't know if you've noticed, but I get the pop-up notifications from YouTube that our show comes on 2 or 3 times a day on YouTube. So,
I did not know that.
Yeah, so it does help.
Yeah.
So, but so that's our next.
How many listeners are on YouTube right now?
Looks like we have 1.
Hi, YouTuber.
But they come in later. That's what I'm saying. They get the pop-up and they go, Lisa Poole's in this morning. The Iceman, Scott Snow. He's the Iceman, but man, Scott Snow, that's kind of the Iceman when you think about that last name, right?
I want you to pronounce that next name for me. Just take your time.
Bianca Lisa?
No. Above.
BJ Nelson, good morning. John Paul Hull.
Go back. See it?
I'm getting there. Hang on. Richard King. I'm seeing who else is in. Christina Wise, good morning. Rodmore Knipling.
Aragon. I don't know how to say it.
Gwen Lariu Aragon.
I think she was French. Aragon.
I'm pretty sure I butchered that middle one.
Aragon.
It's a hyphen. You can't just jump straight to the Aragon because there's a hyphen.
Gwen, L.A., baby. Gwen from the L.A., and I ain't talking Lubbock area. What is Bianca Mindy Lisa?
You're not talking Lethbridge, Alberta?
We've done the Carrie Eric. What is this? Is this a menage a trois thing? Bianca Mindy Lisa.
No, doesn't look like it.
There we go. Love it. Welcome in. JP says, what? I can't wait to see what? What did he say?
Card playing the Alamo Bowl next year.
Oh, see, that's such a stab.
Isn't it, though?
Yeah, when the Aggies still have a game to play. No, they don't. They got a game to play. Who are they playing? I'm being serious.
I'm being serious.
A&M plays Florida. No, Oklahoma plays Florida.
No, Oklahoma plays Florida today.
Who does A&M play? I think it's going to be on the Ocho.
Peter Agnelli asked, are the Horns that good or CU that bad? A little bit of both, in my opinion, Peter, watching that game yesterday.
Some great athletes on the field. Texas running back is legit. He's a freshman.
AJ Nelson asked a question, any big celebration for New Year's Eve, or are most people staying home? I think, bars are on the verge of being closed, aren't they?
Yeah, we're going to get back into shutdown mode. This country's fixing to explode.
They shut down the bars in the San Antonio area based on the number of people in the hospital beds. So.
I've done that before.
Yeah. You've shut down the bars?
In San Antonio, sure.
H.R. Mallory, Quinn Jacobacy, Rena Sherry, good morning.
Quinn, you know what Quinn does, right? Mandolin player. No, that's not right. Banjo player. No, mandolin player. He's a mandolin guy. He's got banjos too, though.
C.W. Bean says the Victoria County Tax Office extended the due date of payment of property taxes a few months without penalties because of COVID.
Thanks, Patrick. Yeah, the Aggies play North Carolina. Actually, he's got it right. They played Mac Brown. Yeah.
I hadn't seen that. I wonder if that was the gift to the people from our
Rena.
From Rena Scherer, our outgoing tax assessor collector.
Maybe so. There, she's right there. What did she say?
Talk to your legislators about the shutdown stuff. Yep.
Yeah, I agree. I think you're going to see this country just go nuts. Well, Chris Conrad says North Carolina is without their stud running back. They have 2, I think. There's a number 8 that was just phenomenal. I think there's a guy number 25 that I've watched. This number 8 just does some ridiculous things.
This is where, to me, this is sort of a normal transition. Remember when all the coaches used to leave during bowl season? And everybody got mad because it's not the same team that's being coached that won the,
right back.
Yeah. That won all the games, right?
Right.
So you'd get a little frustrated because then your team would go out with a new coach or an interim coach and they'd lay an egg in what it could arguably be the biggest game of the year. And this will be, I think, the catalyst for expanding the playoffs maybe quicker than what they're supposed to, because they still have 3 or 4 years, or maybe 5 left on their agreement for a 4-team playoff. And it's not because Coastal Carolina goes undefeated and then lays an egg in a game, but you're starting to see players sit out these games because they don't want to hurt their draft status, or they want to improve their draft status, or they want to do something to not risk injury prior to the NFL draft.
But they don't do that within the national championship hunt, right? They just do that.
Not typically.
In the toilet bowl.
Exactly. So that's why I think this might be the way that the playoffs get expanded a little quicker and the current agreement gets torn up and tossed aside, because it would stop, and probably not North Carolina because they're number 19. They're not getting in the playoffs.
No, but the reality is the remember when UCF a couple of years ago was like they were like undefeated? Folks, those guys aren't beating Alabama but once out of every 100 times. I don't want to hear about.
They got good mileage out of trying to claim that they were also the national champs.
Yeah, it's
good marketing.
Dumb.
Good morning, Terry Murray. So, but I think that might be the move, that to try to keep players in the games, because if now you have more bowl games being your playoff games.
I never understood why they didn't just claim that this was a special year and do something this year. Hey, no offense to the bowls. I mean, we're still going to play the bowls, but the Cotton Bowl now is a semifinal game between Alabama and Notre Dame.
Well, they did that by moving the Rose Bowl to Dallas, right, or to Arlington, or to AT&T. I mean, but from what I understand, the negotiations that went on to move the Rose Bowl there and to compensate Pasadena and all the things that, I mean, are you still going to have the Tournament of Roses parade?
Right. Not in Dallas.
No.
So you know that Jerry Jones found a way to make those
roses will freeze.
Jerry
in
Jones
Dallas
found a way to make them
for sure.
So who's going to take the China virus vaccine? I mean, Kamala received it yesterday, so doesn't that make you feel better? I think there's folks lining up. Folks are going to start being able to get it in Victoria this week, like today maybe.
Some have been able to get it. Our healthcare workers have already got it. But again, I think as of last week, 16 million vaccines were, I think, distributed, and 11 million of those were actually administered. And then you got to go back in 3 weeks. I mean,
nobody's died yet.
No. And then the side effects have been relatively
minimal.
Aside from one lady passing out who was an exhausted nurse who had just worked like extra shifts around Christmas.
Right.
And then had the lights of TV and was thrown into a press conference she probably normally doesn't do. But they, and this is where the media drives me nuts, because some on the media, mostly on the right, trying to drive an agenda, tried to make a claim that was because she had got the vaccine earlier in the day and it caused her to pass out. No, it was probably all the stress of everything else going on in her life, being thrust into a situation she's not accustomed to. And then you find out a day later that she has an affliction that does cause her to pass out sometimes.
Right. So, Chris Conrad says Biden's now saying that he could have rolled out the vaccine faster.
You've got a vaccine that you've got to keep it like minus 200 degrees Fahrenheit. How are you going to roll that out any faster when you have to have specialized equipment to store it and transport it?
But there's also nothing wrong with giving credit where credit's due. I mean, everything that Donald Trump does, Peter McNally, doesn't have to be anti-American, anti-establishment. I mean, it's okay to say, man, hats off to our government for getting a vaccine out in record time.
Not in this political climate. No, you just can't do that.
I mean, Donald Trump wasn't in the lab, looking at the petri dish, but the government, I have to give credit to Donald Trump for doing that. I mean, he streamlined the process.
And there's no way you get the vaccine rolled out as quickly as they did if you believe the left's narrative and the media's talking point that there was no plan for any of this, because you can't just drop a bunch of vaccines on a doorstep.
Absolutely.
And then they just disperse themselves.
Jeff Fonseca says this new strain of COVID, one that is supposedly 70% more contagious, was found and has now been found in Colorado.
Yeah, I just saw that headline this morning.
But is it 70% more deadly? Are now 2 people out of every 1,000 going to die? I mean, I'm being sincere. It's about 1 out of every 1,000 now that get it die. Or 2, 1,000 cases, 1 person dies. Now, in the same 1,000 people, 2 die in car wrecks, 1 dies of a heart attack. There's 3 that have cancer. But 1 person out of 1,000 dies of COVID, and we're shutting down HEB, baby. Get the toilet paper. So is this thing now 2 out of 1,000, or is it still you're just more likely to get it? I don't know.
Yeah, we probably won't know.
I don't know.
Which again brings back to a conversation that I think you and I had off the air yesterday because we ran out of time with the show. But is this vaccine going to be any good?
Right.
I guess it might provide some immunity.
Right.
To a virus that's always mutating. But, coming out of the clinical trials and stuff, they were saying it was 90 to 90, or depending on which of these 3 vaccines that is now out there. AstraZeneca's approved by the UK, but anywhere from 90 to 95% effective. Now, you would think with this new strain, maybe that efficacy is not quite where.
And it's not like it's not the polio vaccine. It's not like if you take the vaccine, you'll never get anything. It's like, hey, you could still get the new strain. You could still get a evolved, morphed strain. Some people have mused that the virus has evolved, if you will, mutated into a less deadly virus. That more people are getting it, but much fewer are dying.
Richard King says he's not worried about the COVID. He's just going to live the life the way he wants and keep going forward. Patrick Strauss says he already took the first shot already.
And Richard King, I agree with you 100%. There's that fine line of you have these fatalistic folks that say, well, God's got a plan. Whatever's going to happen to me is going to happen. Yeah, but God still doesn't want you to go play jacks on I-10. You got to be a little bit smart. But I agree with Richard King on this one. We've had it. I've had it. Am I afraid of getting it again? No. Do I think I'm going to get it again? No.
Maybe.
I don't know. I know that the other day I was walking through Sam's and I had a mask on and I almost passed out. I was just breathing my own exhaust.
You see that lady? I don't know where the video was taken. Wearing a Baylor mask, and no knock on Baylor. It probably embarrasses Baylor.
What'd she do?
Blonde lady, red jacket, Baylor face mask, absolutely berating.
Wait, BJ's blonde.
It wasn't BJ.
BJ's got a red jacket.
What's the BJ went to Baylor? Is that where you're
BJ went to Baylor. Okay, let's keep going. Look, it is. If it walks like a duck, if it looks like a duck, let's go. What did BJ do?
It wasn't BJ.
In Tomorrow's Advocate, trash lady.
Trash.
Embarrasses university. Oh, no, Cobbler's gone. They won't have it.
This lady was following, I think a guy around a grocery store for not wearing a mask and absolutely trying to embarrass him, point him out to everybody who was wearing a mask. And the whole time and she's like right in his face.
Well, he should have just gone.
And I'm like, okay, so the guy's not wearing a mask. But aren't you within his 6 feet of personal space that we're supposed to not be within?
This is people just
more
freaking
than
out.
Yeah.
They're having emotional breakdowns. I think I've never done this. I've never been, as you can tell by looking at me, I've never been bulimic. But I think if you came up and started haranguing me over something, I might try to stick my finger down my throat and throw up on you. I'd go, oh, I'm sorry. If you weren't 6 feet, if you were 6 feet from me, this wouldn't have happened to you.
And the irony of it all is I'm trying to read her T-shirt. It says something about fighting for my liberty on there. There's a quote, a picture. I couldn't quite see it, but
you have no liberty if you're a sheeple.
Exactly. If you're that worried about somebody else not following the rules you're following,
yeah, you're a sheep.
You're wearing a shirt just because. Yeah. But this is the world we live in now, folks, where people like this exist to absolutely try to bring shame and bring others to a level. There's a level of hatred lurking below the surface of these people that I can't wrap my head around how badly you could hate somebody that much
which is it's Trump derangement.
Somebody you don't know. Well, that was the other thing. She said, you voted for Trump, didn't you? That was something else she said. But there was another video where, and I think we talked a little bit about it earlier in the week, where this girl was 15, got her learner's permit, was all excited, tried to act like a hip hop star, dropped the N-word.
Oh, yes.
And then this guy on the video sat on it for anywhere from 1 to 3 years, depending on whose report you listen to. And then because she was going to go be a cheerleader at Tennessee, he decided to expose this video to the world and ruin her.
She gets kicked off the Tennessee cheerleading squad.
And withdrew from school and is now at a community college somewhere. And I'm sitting there.
Bless her heart. Now, yes, your sins will come back to haunt you, but are you kidding me? She got in the car and so you have to picture this.
Send a Snapchat.
Yeah, and it's like, look at me, I'm driving my N-word, which is just, it's hip hop. I mean, it's the hypocrisy of the left. The black kid can say it. The black kid can quote the song. If the white guy says it, better not have that hard R.
And she apologized in the course of these 3 or 4 years, apologized to her black friends for saying it.
Who weren't even upset.
No. And her black friends even got admonished on social media for trying to defend her.
Yeah, these are these Uncle Tom friends of hers. That's basically what they said about them.
Yeah. And this, but I'm sitting there, and there has to be more to the story. There has to be more to the story.
And
why would you? No, but there is, because why would you? And the narrative was, well, they didn't know. They went to the same school. He didn't know her, right? Well, yeah, it turns out that's a bunch of BS, because there's a whole bunch of pictures now being circulated that he had posted on Twitter of the two of them together. I don't know any more than that, but
I'm he a black kid?
Yeah.
Which doesn't really matter. It could have been a white kid just as easy.
But
white kids are just as dumb as black kids.
Yeah.
Joe Biden. Black kids are just as smart as rich kids.
Yeah.
Well, poor kids are just as smart as white kids. That's what he said.
That's what he's saying. When speaking to a coalition of minority people, but, all of a sudden there's a bunch of pictures of these two being posted together, So at one point they were friends, and maybe at one point he was hoping they'd be more than friends.
Right.
Because think about high school. And it didn't work out the way he wanted it to, so he got a piece of ammunition that he was going to hold and saved it when he could ruin her life because
because he could.
Her rebuking his advances maybe, or they were friends and then went different ways as people do in high school and in life, and he still hasn't got over that.
Yeah, see, my deal is, like, I always beg people, try to cancel me, because you can't really cancel the truth. If you can tell people what is really going on, people can't cancel that. You know who just doesn't care, could not care less about that type of garbage?
Who's that?
Alan's Wrecker Service. Nope. 578-6300. Call Alan. He doesn't care what color you are. He doesn't care who you dated in high school or the fact that Ash couldn't get a date in high school.
Doesn't care what
he doesn't care. Black car, white car. He tows them all. Doesn't care. He'll let you sing hip hop right there in the cab on your way to the Antonoffer dealership. Since 1926, Victoria's dealer.
Bodywork, paint and body, service, all makes
new battery.
They can do it all.
They can do your inspection, or you can trade that wreck in and get you a new Cadillac, Mazda, Mitsubishi, Chevrolet pickup.
You're looking for a new SUV, now's the time. They've got Yukons and Tahoes, Chevy Tahoes, and the Silverados on the lot,
and Suburbans.
That's
right there on the Numero Motor Mile across from 1,400 businesses.
Yeah, they don't have a lot of pickup trucks, but they've got some SUVs that they can
just down the street from high prices, stacking them deep, selling them cheap. But if you don't buy it today, they'll be there tomorrow.
On the Numero Motor Mile.
Absolutely, love it.
Chesnick Furniture Company, they'll be there tomorrow. They've been there for 100 years.
Yes, if there's a trend, I would say they'll be there. 116 West Wild Lane, corner.
If 100 years is a trend, I mean,
Bobby Leon's been there probably 45.
Fly-by-nighters at 100 years.
Right. Carpetbaggers came in when Victoria had no furniture. Go down and check them out. Bobby Leon and his family, just great folks. You'll love them.
You will. Bobby's a great guy, and they've got great furniture there.
And then today, of course, is Caldo Wednesday.
It is Caldo Wednesday.
And I'm not going to be surprised if, I don't know, I'm sure Veracruz is open tomorrow, but I bet you they're not open on Friday.
I bet you not.
So get by today. There's Commissioner Clint Ives, Precinct 4.
Call your Caldo order in early and go pick it up.
So I want to give a shout out to some folks just because, and Ash hates it when I do this, but I'm just going to do it anyway. I was very.
I don't hate it when you do this.
Yesterday, we've got those stools at the house. They're not stools, they're chairs, but they're bar height chairs, and they've got like a leather, very thin leather. Anyway.
So they're chewels.
Yeah, they need to be. They're chewels. No, they're. Yeah. But seriously,
can't call them stairs.
You can't call them stairs. But I need to get them recovered. So everybody knows Carmona's. Great service. Been here forever. But, man, they're expensive. I mean, I've done some stuff over there, and I was like, hey, this cushion on this leather sofa, can you fix it? Oh, yeah, I can fix it. It was like $400. I'm like, wow, all they did was put some padding in there. But they did it right. So there's your baseline, And I reached out on Facebook, and I had half a dozen people give me really good testimonial referrals. They're like, hey, I've used this guy for years. DF's Upholstery was one of them. There's the Iceman's father-in-law is a gentleman that he's over there by VISD, does furniture reupholstery. So Facebook can be a good tool for that. But more importantly, thanks to the people here in Victoria, where I was going with all this is that Clint Ives sent me a picture of a bucket of Flex Seal and just said to coat the chair with Flex Seal, which explains the pothole situation in Precinct 4.
Well, if you wanted to maybe make a pattern, you could get the Flex Seal tape.
Right.
And just, a little basket weave pattern.
Commissioner Ives is a guy that just might make a boat out of a screen door.
He might.
There's Jim Hartman. Good morning, sir.
Or Benitez Beer Rig says DF Upholstery does great work. So there you go. Morning, Jim Hartman.
See, she went the other way. Benitez Beer Rig. He's German. Wow. I'm good. Because Ash, there's not enough. He was going to roll that R.
Yeah, Beer Rig.
I saw nothing.
My grandma, we'd play cards, and she'd always go, kink. When you had the king. She got the king. Played a game called Kings in the Corner. It was always kinks in the corner.
Where have I been? From the Where Have I Been deal, did you know that our buddy Chris Heitzman over at Caterpillar, who's done all types of things there, is moving to St. Petersburg, Russia. Been reassigned by the Kremlin to go over there and stir it up. I thought that was interesting.
Keep talking.
Right? No,
I might have to take action, and people will see this.
He's going to St. Petersburg.
And my cover will be blown.
I mean, hey, Chris, congratulations to you. And I think it's just a year. They wanted to be, I think, the general manager, the head Shaka Khan of the store to get him some international and head. It's not a store. It's a manufacturing facility. It's not like it's a 7-Eleven for excavators. It's where they build them in Russia. But you'd have to pay me a boatload of cash to move to Russia right now.
Why? Biden's in the White House. He can't go at a safer time.
That's true. That's true. He's not in the White House yet.
Well, no, but he will be.
Is that going to happen? What do you think is going to happen? What happens?
Chris Hunter says going back for re-education.
Right? Yeah.
A year should do it.
Yeah. A year should do it.
Da.
What happens if Donald Trump says, I'm not leaving? Neener. And by the way, the military supports me, and I'm not leaving.
Then we got a junta.
Right? And then what? Does the left go, hang now, I'm out. Y'all fix it. Do you turn to Nancy Pelosi to solve the problem?
Well, or Louis Gohmert.
Because AOC is saying that Nancy Pelosi has to go.
Well, you knew that was coming. Yeah. They don't agree. They don't get along.
You think Kamala is going to make AOC like Speaker of the House? Folks, that's the end of our government as we know it. I mean, this lady's a complete buffoon of an idiot with no sense of history, has no sense of where our country is rooted. I don't know what you do with that. I don't know how the people of New York have elected this special needs bartender twice. Just on the bug-eyed factor alone, I would have sent her home. I don't know how they did it. I don't know how she got elected twice.
Because she manufactures a good story and they buy it. They lap it up because it's New Yorkers. And
they're resilient people, New Yorkers, but boy, are they dumb.
There's got to be,
de Blasio.
Need to look and see in the stimulus package what's actually going to her district. Because there's got to be something.
Oh, man. It's a tragedy. It's a sham, and it's a mockery. It's a Travis show mockery.
But think about it for a minute. Remember when she first got elected and she was crying about she was going to have nowhere to sleep and couldn't afford the high rent in Washington, D.C.?
It's all a lie. Now
has she complained? She's been there now, 2 terms? Has she complained or going to be in their second term in January?
She just finished her first term. She's always dressed to the nines.
Yeah. Has she complained once about being able to make ends meet since being elected? No. And Washington, D.C. is not the cheapest place to live. I mean, I guess you can make it on $197,000 a year, whatever they make, or 200 and something.
I don't know. We always ask Michael Cloud if he's a millionaire yet. And by the way, we've tried to get Michael to come on. He's been extremely busy. Don't worry. He's not dodging us. But Michael couldn't come on this week, and we're going to try to get him on. I talked to Jim Hartman yesterday. Said this would be a good time to get the congressman on. And we totally agree. Just have to get him on. He's been swamped. No pun intended.
No.
But Michael, one thing about Michael, even though Michael probably is a millionaire by now, he's been in Congress for what? He's been elected like 6 times over a 4-year period.
Over a 2-month period.
He's just been elected 6 times. And he still dresses out of the House gift shop. And I like that. He had that pullover that you and I could buy. It just says House of Representatives.
And a little pin on it.
It kind of reminded me if he'd had like a Boys State shirt on. You know, it was like white shirt with a blue collar and had the logo Boys State. I'm just a bill.
I wonder if they pipe that song on the intercom.
Yeah, Lisa Poole, you're right. She says, read where AOC comes from. She went to Columbia. This is not a cheap place to go to school.
If your aspirations out of Columbia are a bartender, and then you're complaining about student loan debt,
come on,
I don't have any sympathy for you.
Come on, Ricky Bobby. You're the first loser.
Clayton Meyer, good morning.
Clayton. White Trash Services, folks, 550-1826. Ash is a customer. They haven't picked up yet. They haven't picked up yet.
In Victoria County, 5 contiguous counties.
Holiday Beach, Aspen, Colorado,
Lake
Kona, Hawaii. They only go to Kona once a month. It's hard to get over there. Got to put the truck on a barge.
But the coffee's worth it.
Absolutely. Reach out to White Trash Services, 550-1826. We talked about JP Hull. John Paul. If John Paul can get us 600 and something YouTube listeners and viewers, imagine what he can do for your company.
Drive traffic to your website. That's what he can do.
Absolutely.
And that's how you make money in this COVID-19
reach out to
afterworld.
And then, of course, budget blinds in the UPS store. Still things to ship. Still sun to block. Yes. Get rid of those shears. You know you wanted to before Christmas. It was a great idea when I mentioned it back then, and you still haven't done it. Level
still a great idea.
Hunter Douglas. They've got them. They'll come out and install them.
Yeah, that to me is the biggest benefit that they provide.
Free estimate. They will come to your home and go, I will put these in for you for this total dollar amount. And you can go, that's too high. That's what you can do. Well, it doesn't cost you a thing to review your window treatments.
And they'll do the measuring, so you don't have to measure them.
And if they're wrong, guess what? They'll do it again. Yeah. Not at your expense, at theirs.
Not on you.
What happens when you're wrong?
It's on you.
Put the screw into a wire and light up Grandma's living room. I like it.
I do too.
That's a good place to stop or break.
Well, VCS Rocket Oilfield Services is the only locally owned and authorized AT&T retailer. Our banner sponsor.
They're fantastic.
Awesome folks. Great services for anything communication or communication related, from your first phone to an intricated phone system. They can do it all, and they have all the expertise and the knowledge.
To a security system. To a surveillance system. We have cameras in the house. Man, it's 1080p with a zoom. I can bring it up on my phone and zoom in on a license plate that's down at the end of the cul-de-sac. Pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
High quality gear. The VCS companies. I joke with J.R. Perez. He's been there for years. I said, we say on the air, hey, VCS companies does it right the first time, but you're pushing it, Perez. You're pushing it. They do a great job.
They do.
And they completely stand behind everything they do.
They're awesome.
Yep. Well, they live here, just like all of our sponsors. You look at Uncle Mud's Barbecue. Arterberries live here. You know, they don't just come in and go to work. They don't just ship in meat from somewhere. They're part of this community, giving back.
They're not just shipping in the Siberian muskox.
Right? And I mean, if you cook horse just right. No, they've got brisket, ribs, sausage, chicken, turkey, all the side dishes, just what you want.
Phenomenal.
Fantastic. They have a special today too. Go by and check it out. What is Lisa Poole saying? Bill Gates wants to dim the sun. Dim sun. I thought that was a dish.
That is brunch on a Sunday in Chinatown in New York.
Right?
Yeah, I saw the headline. I didn't delve into it. I was like, this, and you know, the global warming folks will be all over this.
Right.
Yeah. Clayton Meyer says, hey, you say good morning to me, and then you talk about white trash. Yeah. That's where you send this, Clayton. That's where you send us.
You reminded us.
So Stacey Abrams, former representative in Georgia, ran for governor, didn't win. Her sister apparently is a judge, and in the middle of the night rules on a temporary restraining order that some folks in Georgia were trying to verify election rolls. These are the laws and the rules already in place to do this. Stacey Abrams' sister rules in the middle of the night a restraining order to stop this process from happening because they had probable cause, sworn statements that, hey, these folks are voting and they probably shouldn't be. And that's, according to what I understand of Georgia law, that should trigger an investigation by the local elections officials to then go and verify that so-and-so actually lives at the address that they say they do and they're eligible to vote.
Right.
She issued a temporary restraining order to stop this process. It's been vilified in the left media as purging voter rolls when that's absolutely not what it's doing at all, because if you're legit, you're not removed from the voter roll. They're just reaffirming and confirming that you are who you say you are and that you are eligible to vote in the upcoming Senate election. So the media is already portraying this as a witch hunt to try to purge voter rolls when that's not what's happening at all.
So what do you do with the idea that they seem pretty confident that there were like 143 million registered voters in the country? And apparently it's not really that hard to figure out how many registered voters there were, because they've got them registered. See, they're in a book.
I think there's 200 and some odd million registered voters, and about 66%, which gets you to the 148. So now it's an
interpolation, and it's like, actually, then so what we say is, well, the way that Biden got 80 million votes is instead of 65%, 78%.
Yeah, that's the way it's going to happen. Yeah.
Okay.
That number is going to change, even though everybody's reported that the voter turnout this election was about 66%. Right?
I think this was probably the most polarizing election of my lifetime. I mean, I remember when Ronald Reagan beat Jimmy Carter fairly easily. fairly easily.
Wow.
But because of that, I don't think there was near as many votes because I think, it was just understood that Jimmy needed to go.
Yeah, I don't think we've had this kind of voter turnout percentage-wise in a decade or
but just
a century.
Look at all the people. Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, vastly popular Barack Obama early on. How does Joe Biden, who didn't even get the nomination until late, how does Joe Biden stir up 80 million votes? Did that many people vote against Donald Trump? I mean, is that what really happened?
How does he stir up that kind of, how does he stir up those kind of numbers when President Trump had more African-American votes and Latino voters than any Republican presidential candidate in our lifetime?
Maybe since he's been in Congress so long, those little girls that he started sniffing back in the 60s and 70s grew up and voted for him.
It's a possibility.
Played with the hair on his legs down at the pool. Why? He knows black people. He told us.
Yeah. Compared them to roaches in that speech.
He did. Unbelievable.
And still gets elected.
Unbelievable job.
And doesn't even win as many counties, apparently, as Barack Obama did. But gets more votes? How does that even compute? In 4 years?
Yeah. When we were laughing at his candidacy, which we openly did, because there was no way Joe Biden was going to be the guy. And we were laughing at his candidacy. Do you remember him talking to the union worker in like Philadelphia or somewhere and threatening the guy? I'll take you outside. You want to go outside with me? Let's do some push-ups.
Yeah.
I'm like, really, Joe? You psycho?
Well, and leads me
to tell Putin that because Vladimir might just.
Vladimir would probably
whoop him.
Yeah, Vladimir would. But it leads me into the ranking of U.S. electoral integrity. Harvard University has an electoral integrity
think tank,
and it's led by an Australian, and it's an international conglomerate of
unbiased,
of brainy people.
So it's unbiased. It's not like trying to.
No.
Okay.
So they went back and looked at like 6 years of election data. So this isn't this year alone, and this is from the report covering 2012 to 2018 elections.
This could cover the 5 elections Michael Cloud had during this time. Right? He was elected 5 times, Brother Gary.
And not only they looked at elections all over the world
and compared them
and ranked them on the integrity of the election process and the security of the elections and all that.
We were right at the top, weren't we?
No.
We were right there, though, right? I mean, we were right there.
57th, I believe.
57th. There's only 180 countries.
We were the worst in the developed world for election integrity. I wouldn't be surprised if Venezuela ranked ahead of us.
So we were of the countries that aren't third world. We were
dead last. I mean, there are.
Look, Peter McNally, my favorite white suburban woman, says many white suburban women voted for Biden, just didn't tell their husbands. But they told Pete McNally. They told Pete that they were voting for Biden. They didn't tell their husbands.
Yeah. Well, because what's the implication there? That they were going to get beat by their husbands if they voted for Biden and told them?
Trump's such a despot. Peter McNally, counselor to the American housewife.
But, I mean, if you think
Love you, Pete.
that, all of a sudden, this is the election that our integrity has been compromised. No, our election integrity has been compromised for the last decade to the point that Harvard researchers, and we'll get to this in a second.
We'll get to that.
Yeah. Harvard researchers looked at the data and said, we've got the worst election system in the entire world. And one of the reasons is because there's no central process for the votes and how to tabulate them.
Doesn't this tie right in with those folks that are concerned that now, so we packed the Supreme Court with a couple of more Dems. We go ahead and give statehood to the D.C. metro area, which is now 2 more Democratic senators. We give statehood to Puerto Rico, who
they don't want it.
They don't, but we kind of,
because that would put more oversight into the corruption.
But Joe Biden's in charge of that, so we don't put more oversight into the corruption. In fact, we send them $500 million. Jack, on wheels up. Unless you take statehood, here's $500 million, and that gives them two more.
A quarter of that goes back to Hunter Biden.
2 more Democratic senators, and the next thing you know what they say? Well, there's no reason to have elections. Everybody
knows the outcome.
We know the outcome. Everybody thinks they're corrupt anyway. Why have an election? And some of you are going, "Oh, come on, Brent, that could never happen." Ask Russia. Ask Russia.
Ask Venezuela.
Right. And
ask Cuba. Just go back to your.
All it takes is a strong-handed. You don't think Kamala Harris has the chutzpah to send out some jackboot people and say, "I need you to go down there to Texas and shut those people up"? I think Kamala Harris have you killed in a heartbeat. She's just Hillary Clinton with, a little different pigment. She'd carve you up for
less of a track record that's known.
Right. Well, she's just got Bill Clinton's sex drive. She just looks like Hillary a little bit. What did Mitch McConnell
Rich King says, don't forget taking away the Electoral College as well.
Well, they want to get rid of the Electoral College. Every time it doesn't favor them right now they're counted up. Joe Biden got 310 votes.
Yeah. That's kind of – Mitch McConnell yesterday got a whole bunch of headlines because he didn't want to – he was not on board to the $2,000 stimulus checks that President Trump wants to send to everybody. So he said, you know what? We're not going to pass it. But then he goes and introduces his own piece of legislation that I think ties it to getting rid of the Section 230 protection that the tech giants have. And, of course, who's the first one to say, no, we can't do that? Chuck Schumer.
Yeah.
230 must stay.
They're dirty.
Because Zuckerberg and it was interesting. It was interesting watching that game last night because there's Google with an ad talking about democracy. The same Google that throttled search engine inquiries based on heading into the election based on the terms and phrases you were trying to search.
Absolutely. So Peter McNally, I want to call you out today. I love you as a guy, but you're an idiot. Using scare tactics again. We're talking about the possibility of losing the Electoral College, losing a fair and balanced Senate, packing the Supreme Court. And Peter says, you're using scare tactics again. What did the left do from the beginning except demean and criticize and accuse? And Joe Biden, if you don't elect me, 20 million people are going to die of COVID. They're going to take away your health care. They're going to take away your Medicare. You are a complete hypocrite to claim that the right uses scare tactics when Joe Biden openly pled on national television to the elderly. Folks, I'm right there with you. Donald Trump wants to take away your Medicare. And in the exact same commercial break, the left would say, we want to make America safer. We need to take away the guns. They all use scare tactics. It's hypocritical to close one eye, look at a turd, put some powder on it, call it a donut. And Peter, you're notorious for idiotic comments like that. So I'm just going to go ahead and call you out on the last day of the year. Clean up your act or go listen to some other channel.
Oh,
he doesn't sponsor anything. It's ridiculous.
Got escalated quickly.
That's my show. I can do that. You think I'm sincere? You think I'm just trying to drive comments?
I think he was trying to drive comments.
Probably just trying to drive some comments. Peter, we love you. Hang on as long as you want.
But there are no scare tactics because we're just using the words that Joe Biden and the left used for the election.
Yeah.
Joe Biden said he was going to pack the Supreme Court.
Yep. They asked
they wanted the Electoral College gone.
He didn't want to talk about that. He didn't want to talk about it. Well, I don't know if it's packing it. We just want to make it more fair.
Yeah.
For everybody. We want a Supreme Court that works for everybody. That would make Ruth Bader Ginsburg proud. That's what we want.
You've got one. Because you got Chief Justice Roberts.
Who's a leftist in Republican clothing. Yeah. Almost all legal minds lean left. You'll find a conservative guy. You'll find a guy like Steve Kidder, who I think is about as conservative a lawyer as I've ever met. But at the end of the day, you kind of want a liberal lawyer. You kind of want a lawyer that wants you to have the benefit of every doubt. But legal minds lean left, so that bothers me. Thank you, Richard King. Thank you, Lisa Poole.
Iceman says, give you a twisted tea.
Well, you just can't throw out, oh, there you go, using scare tactics and just being dumb. Don't be dumb. You're too old to be dumb.
Too smart to be dumb.
Well, in theory. Academics, they're only as smart as you let them be.
You can be as smart as ever if you call the Great Barn for all your event design needs, because you don't want to be that person that has that event and everybody talks about how badly decorated it was because you felt you could do it yourself.
Absolutely. 920-6803. Just reach out to Cheryl. She'll help you.
She will.
She'd love to help you.
She does. And she does a great job at it, too.
And
I'm not just saying that because she's my wife.
This time of year, going into the spring, why not get you some solar power? You take advantage of the government depreciation, the government discounts, the government tax credits. Take advantage of Joe Biden.
Make note as you unstring all your Christmas lights of where it would make a whole lot more sense to add another outlet outside or inside.
Right.
And then give Wendt a call. They'll come and install that extra outlet for you.
And tell them Wade and Carter sent you. They might give you a free estimate. USA Concrete Coatings, reach out to Charlie Garcia, 578 Home.
The number to call.
Does a great job. He'll clean up, seal up your garage floor.
Paint it up, make it look nice.
Put down a polyurethane coating with Flex. It's beautiful. He can do patios, pool decks, porches, sidewalks. He can do it. Happy birthday, Brent Anderson. Brother Gary's here. You know him.
I do know him.
You've known Brent Anderson, his brother John, his mother. You've known the Jewel forever.
Sure, forever.
So
Brent's got a birthday.
Does he?
I don't know. He said Happy New Year.
Well,
he said Happy Birthday to him.
Did I have it here? He knows what I mean.
But we know the family.
Yeah. What are you doing, Brother G? Talk to us, man.
I'm kind of pleased with Texas, but let me mention one event, guys, before New Year's Day. This is one for the kids. We got to mention one for the kids right here. Children's Discovery Museum, Princess and Superhero. This is a terrific event. New Year's Eve bash. That's tomorrow from 10 to 1. Balloon drop at 12. Grape juice at 12 o'clock to toast in the new year. Like events like that, I've been doing it with the Children's Discovery Museum for a lot of years. So one right there. And I know whatever you do, just do it safely. And Happy New Year's.
Yeah, be safe.
Hang on, I feel bad because for the last show of the year, I did not do this.
Okay, sir.
Wow, spanning the globe.
You're in charge. I'm just
to bring you the what's what of what's up. Brother Gary Moses in the house getting some serious intro music.
I'll take it.
Yeah, well, you're the man.
Thank you.
Are you doing a show with the Hall of Famer after
I'm
this?
doing one with him too. We're going to do one more tomorrow.
Are you?
Yeah, we gave y'all good plugs.
Little overachievers. Yeah. I talked to Bill Posey, and he's going to be in starting again. He says he's coming back.
He said so. He looked good.
We didn't tell him that we were moving the studio, so he'll come.
He'll show up here and knock on the door.
On a still gray Pittsburgh morning, he'll just be standing out there in the cold like a little puppy.
My key did not work.
No.
But it's great to see him moving around.
He's doing good.
Wishing him the best.
You can't keep him down.
No, thank you, boys. It's been terrific with you each and every time I see you, whether we're on the mic or not. I love you guys.
Who do you like in the Carolina?
Well, I got something
okay, that's right. I got you.
Because we got something for you.
Okay.
Texas, of course, last night. I know you covered it. They did great. That's a good way to end the season. All right, Urban Meyer news and a little Texas news right here. You wanted the stuff.
I want it.
Urban Meyer, ladies and gentlemen, they had 2 pro teams contact him. They want him, and he didn't say no. And the team that he looked at closely was Jacksonville. You know why?
Trevor Lawrence.
Trevor Lawrence.
First pick of the draft.
Yeah.
Trevor Lawrence, and that's intriguing to him. He said.
Oh, I bet it is.
That's a game changer.
Yeah.
And the other team was Detroit Lions, and he didn't say no. Texas, they're trying to say no, but they're still making a run for him. Texas said no, they're not going to take anybody and drop big money on him unless it's top flight.
Right.
They have looked at Oregon's Mario Cristobal, James Franklin. Iowa State's Matt Campbell and Alabama assistant Steve Sarkisian. They're looking all for, but they're not going to get that.
No,
they're not going to get the alumni.
Sarkisian's got too much baggage.
Yep.
With his substance abuse problems, I don't know that I don't know that he's a good fit.
There was somebody the other day mentioned, JP Hull told me that he had heard the rumor floated out there that they might be able to get the Kelly guy from Notre Dame. I mean, come on, people don't make those moves. Yeah, nobody goes from Notre Dame to Texas. You're at Notre Dame.
It's your last gig till you retire.
That's like
unless they fire you.
You're the CEO of General Motors and you leave to go to Ford. That just doesn't happen.
We're looking at Kelly too. A couple of them. Those four they researched. Well, boys, Texas got this boy. Did you see who was missing Texas football? But
if I'm Urban Meyer, that Jacksonville job intrigues me and is more appealing than the Detroit job because Jacksonville.
Sure. That's what I'm saying.
I mean, I know they've had a bad year, but let's not forget this is a team that last year was turning a lot of heads and exciting a lot of football folks. Right. They were heading the right way. This was just a blip in that.
I think so.
Detroit's been mediocre for 30 years.
They're willing to pay him big bucks, but he's looking at Jacksonville. Trevor Lawrence.
That'd be awesome.
Trevor Lawrence. Okay, well, you missed it. This one more for Texas. Mr. Texas football high school player of the year.
Jonathan Brooks.
Correct. Man, he got that award. So we're getting a good boy, and they looked pretty good last night, didn't
they? They did look good.
So a little bit of Texas right there. And, let's see what happens. Do you like the games on – is that Friday, the national playing for the
playoff games Friday?
Right.
Let's see. You've got tonight you have OU playing Florida.
That's a good game.
So they're going to play 6-man. Everybody else is opted out. You're going to play 6-on-6. Everybody plays both ways. And Kyle Trask is going to be all-time quarterback for both teams.
Yeah, so they don't play on both sides.
Got that going on. Yeah, he'll wear a red jersey. And then
I'm picking Florida.
Are you really? No, I'm gonna give OU the nod on this just because they're OU, man. They're tough. They're getting beat by them so much.
Yeah, the Oklahoma.
Oh, because it's not a semifinal game. Is that where you go?
Yeah, they would choke if it was a
semifinal. Would say go Oklahoma.
Right. Then the Aggies, I do think beat North Carolina.
I'm taking Aggies.
What's the spread?
I'll take the Aggies.
It's over a touchdown. They were over a touchdown last week.
That's bold. Matt Brown keeps that score close, and it's low scoring.
Yeah, let's go.
24-21, something like that.
We're going Aggies to win, though.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'll take the Aggies.
Aggies win.
All right, and then how about Notre Dame and Alabama?
Alabama. Cruise.
How about big?
3 touchdowns, Alabama win.
Ohio State and Clemson.
Clemson, big again. Maybe 2 touchdowns.
Yeah. Okay. And then Dallas and the Giants. The winner is still in the chance to winning on the evening game. Washington.
I think Dallas will win. I think Dallas will beat the Giants. I think they've got something to play for. I heard Jerry Jones on another program this morning coming in saying that on the championship teams that he's been associated with, which God bless his heart with his dementia, the fact that he can remember 96. But Jerry Jones said that there's a chemistry, there's a brotherhood, and there's a coming together that's based on leadership. He goes, nobody wants to talk about it when you're getting beat, but when you're winning, you can sure point to it. And he said, and this team is starting to develop that. So I don't know if he's giving credit to the Red Rifle. I don't know what he's doing, but he seems to think the Cowboys will win this weekend. And then guess what? Washington controls their own fate.
Yes, has to lose.
The Eagles.
Chris Conrad says the Red Rifle has found his stride.
Well, I'll tell you what, he had a nice game last week. He can throw it, boy.
I think he's tough.
If he wasn't stuck in Cincinnati all those years,
yes,
we might be talking about him in a different vein.
Hall of Famer,
possibly. Put up some good numbers with some bad Cincinnati teams.
Can Jalen Hurts beat Washington?
I don't know.
They're putting it till 7 o'clock the evening ball game, so everybody watch on Sunday Night Football.
Here's the thing with that is I don't know that. What's their coach, Peterson, in Philly?
Peterson.
I don't think he's going to sit Wentz on the sideline if he needs him in the game. I don't think this is Jalen Hurts' game all the way through. Got a chance to play spoiler.
Yeah, they're going to want to play well.
I like to say we got to go for Hurts, but or Wentz. You know who Wentz is? Their one Wentz. New England Patriots. Belichick is wanting. If they let him go, he'll take him. He said.
I guarantee you,
he's a better fit for Belichick's system than Cam Newton.
I agree with you.
First time since what, 03?
Right.
New England has made the playoffs?
They didn't make the playoffs.
Playoffs?
But you got a 7 o'clock, 7:20 game Sunday night. That way you got something to watch that has meaning. And Dallas wins.
And Tampa Bay makes the playoffs, 10-5 heading into this weekend.
Sure, Brady's back.
Yep.
He's good. So
sure is.
And you are going to be going tomorrow?
We are.
And boys, I want y'all to have a happy New Year.
Happy New Year,
You
brother.
Are you listening?
Do you have big plans? You do anything?
I'm just going to run around a few of these stops I got right there. I'm going to find this other place. And congratulations, West High State.
Don't eat too much cheese. Okay.
And I know I promised at the start of the show a place to go find your champagne for New Year's.
Yes.
I've got the website. I'm not going to break it down for you because I'm not a big champagne drinker, so I can't tell you the difference between.
When you drink that much whiskey, it's hard to chase it with champagne.
Eater.com has a brief guide to buying champagne.
Eater,
E-A-T-E-R. E-A-T-E-R. It's a foodie website.
Makes sense. Appropriate name.
They give you a little history of champagne. I mean, it was a pretty interesting read. A little history of it, how the industry has grown and has basically been a lot due to marketing and the rise of hip hop and Cristal and all that. So yeah, it was pretty cool.
Look at us go. Look at us go. It's about Rangers politics. It gets his attention.
Go Rangers. Ironically, and I didn't know this until a few years back, but the New York Rangers actually have a tie. Their owner was from Texas, and he liked the Texas Rangers back in the day, and that's why he named them the Rangers.
How about that?
Is that right? Yeah. Have they only been around that long?
They've been around, long time.
I didn't know that.
He got one on us, buddy.
Good job. You playing some party music?
So it's pretty fitting.
Folks, we're out of here. This couldn't get any more syrupy. Hey, love you all, even you, Pete.
Bye.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year, everybody.
You always bring it. Happy New Year, Brent. You always bring it. We like trying to get them to think that one day you might not.
I could be any day.
No, it's fine.
Oh, Joe Fryer said to y'all both, Happy New Year to y'all.
Did he really?
Yes, it's a line on that.
He's okay. Joe's all right.
He said, I think we're all thinking we got to